Story 1. 1 minute horror story. Jenny had always been afraid of the dark. She had lost her sight at a young age, and the world had always been a scary place for her. But she had learned to cope, and she had always felt safe as long as she was with her husband. He was her rock, her guide, and she trusted him with all her heart. So when he went away on a business trip, leaving her alone in their house, Jenny was terrified. She had never been alone before, and the thought of it filled her with dread. But she knew that she had to be strong. She was a grown woman, and she couldn't let her fears get the best of her. So she went about her day, doing all the things she normally did. She cooked meals, cleaned the house, and listening to her audiobooks. And every night when she went to bed, she cuddled up next to her husband's pillow, pretending that he was there with her. It was a strange and unsettling routine, but it gave Jenny comfort. She knew that she was safe, and that was all that mattered. But one night, as she lay in bed, something changed. Jenny felt a presence in the room, a sense of unease that she couldn't shake. She tried to ignore it, telling herself that it was just her imagination, but as the minutes ticked by, the feeling grew stronger. Jenny couldn't take it anymore. She reached out and touched her husband's pillow, hoping to feel his familiar warmth. But instead of the soft cotton she expected, she felt something cold and clammy. She recoiled in horror, her heart racing as she realized that she wasn't alone. There was something in the room with her, something evil and malevolent. She could feel its presence, its breath on her neck, and she knew that she had to get out. She scrambled out of bed and ran for the door, her hands outstretched as she tried to find her way. She could hear the thing behind her, its footsteps pounding the floor as it followed her. She stumbled and fell, her hands scraping the floor as she tried to crawl away. She could feel the thing closing in, its hot breath on her neck as it prepared to strike. Just when she thought it was all over, she heard a voice in the darkness. It was her husband, his voice full of concern as he called out to her. Jenny's heart soared with hope. She struggled to her feet and ran towards the sound of his voice, her hands outstretched as she tried to find him. But as she drew closer, she realized that something was wrong. The voice was different, deeper, and more sinister. It was the monster mimicking her husband's voice in order to lure her in. Jenny froze in terror, her mind racing as she tried to think of a way out. She couldn't let the monster win, not after everything she had been through. She turned and ran, her feet pounding the floor as she fought to escape. She could hear the monster behind her, its footsteps growing louder and louder as it closed in. She didn't know how much longer she could keep running, but she knew that she had to try. She had to survive no matter what, but it was too late. The monster was too fast, and before Jenny knew what was happening, it was on top of her. She screamed as it tore into her flesh, its razor-sharp claws slicing through her skin. She fought with all her might, but it was no use. The monster was too strong, and Jenny knew that she was doomed. She closed her eyes, accepting her fate as the monster's claws dug into her flesh. The end. Are you brave enough to enter the realm of the unknown, to face your deepest fears? Head on, to face the horrors that lurk in the shadows. Check out free short horror stories on Amazon that will take only a minute to read, but will give you weeks of nightmares. 1 minute. Horror stories will keep you up at night long after you've closed the book. Each book in this series delves into the depths of fear, where the line between reality and nightmare becomes blurred. From haunted houses to demonic possessions, from ghosts to monsters, these stories will leave you on the edge of your seat and keep you guessing until the very end. Each book is filled with 13 short horror stories that are spine-tingling and will have you checking over your shoulder the next time you are alone. I hope you enjoyed the sample story above. Story 2, I am convinced there's a ghost in my house. Please help. Okay, so my house was built in the 70s. Not particularly new, not particularly old. We moved here in the early 2000s. I don't really know any of the history behind it. We've always joked, there are ghosts here. Doors slamming shut, creaking, and things randomly disappearing. Have always been blamed on ghosts, but around 5 years ago, it started becoming a tad more aggressive. Sounds of light footsteps in the hallway and scratches from the second floor and inside the wall. We have no rodent problems, so it seemed unexplainable to the entire family. Then one day, around 3 to 4 years ago, I was home alone, sitting in the living room, when a loud bang appeared from the second floor. It was so loud, I was worried the upstairs cabinet had fallen down on the floor. When the bang hit, my lights flickered, and the TV turned off and on. I could feel the shake, all the way from downstairs. I went up to check what had happened, and everything seemed the same. This has happened several times, and it is almost entirely identical. A loud bang, a shake, flickered lights, but nothing happened. What makes this worse is that you can't hear it when you're upstairs. You can only hear it when you're downstairs. I've been called on my phone to stop slamming the doors so hard when I'm lying silently in my bed, and the past year I've started seeing ghosts. I might just have imagined things, but at one point I saw a toddler sleeping in my brother's bed. I saw her very clearly. She was young, maybe 3 years. She had long blonde hair, and her arm hung over the edge of the bed. When I approached her, she disappeared. This was probably a year ago, but it still spooks me. Then, a few weeks ago, I encountered her again. I was home alone when someone knocked on the door. I was a bit confused, as I wasn't expecting anyone. As I approached the hallway, heard the door closing and a young girl saying hello. Translated, she said it in my native language, like she had just come home and was announcing her being there. I felt chills run down my back, but I still opened the door to look. My brother is 5, and I figured he might just have come home early, but no one was there. I closed the door today like properly shut, and then she opened it a bit again, and when I looked at the open door, she shut it close. And now I keep hearing banging sounds from downstairs, and I don't know what to do. I'm like unironically kind of worried. Also, I don't know if this matters, but the dreams I get in this house are always so vivid compared to when I'm not at home. Sometimes I wake up with the sheets off my bed and blanket because I sleep so uneasy. Anyways, I could RLE do W some advice. I don't think speaking to her works. I tried and she stopped being noisy for a bit, but then she went at it again. Summary. My house is from the 70s. We moved here in the early 2000s. I don't know, the history, basic, explainable stuff. Slamming doors, misplaced items. Creaking around 2015, it got worse. Light footsteps, scratching in wall, and from the second floor. Past 4 years, it's been quite aggressive. Incredibly loud bangs, loud scraping lights, and TV flickering at times. People walking upstairs, etc. Recently, past year, I've encountered ghosts. Lil toddler girl, probably 3 years old, she just lives her life. I don't know what to do because she scares me. Please help. I don't think talking to her will help because she's ignored me in the past. Thank you for any advice. I might just be very paranoid, but thanks. Update. I just woke up to my locked front door being slightly open. Like, I can see the outside. Oh, why? Story 3, I saw a ghost in my house, but no one in my family believes me. This happened quite a few years ago, but I can still remember it like it was yesterday. This wasn't a ghost that I saw maybe out of the corner of my eye for a split second or from super far away. I saw it up close and personal for a solid 5 to 6 seconds, which, when you're seeing a ghost, seems like an eternity. I was laying on my couch at night when all of a sudden I see a spectral figure made of blue light emerge from around the corner of my hallway and start walking toward me. He was made of light, but he was also transparent, so I could see through him. He couldn't have been more than 10 to 15 feet away from me. I was completely floored, perplexed, amazed, shocked, all at the same time. He was in such great detail that I could tell what type of clothing he was wearing, some type of military garment, and that he was a young Asian male in his 20s. He had a stoic, somber look on his face, almost sad. As he walked toward me, he left a trail of undulating blue light behind him that kind of waved up and down.